Live. Hello. Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. My name is Jennifer Waters, and I am one of the many practitioners at CNY Fertility and CNY Healing Arts. And I'm happy to be here today to share with you a little bit of information about digestion. It's a huge subject. You've all, I'm sure, heard a lot, thanks to Dr. Kiltz and his investment in understanding the glycobiome. There's lots of information out there, and it can be overwhelming. So I'm here to share with you just some tips that I have discovered along the way that have helped me a lot in order to digest food well so that you are actually assimilating and absorbing the nutrients from your food, which is really important. I have to say, having been involved as a practitioner for many decades now, the information that's available to us now is phenomenal. I cannot believe how much good information is out there in the evolution, even in just the past 5 years, of what's coming out about the microbiome, the beneficial fungal colonies that are in your gut, about mold and fungus, heavy metals, deeper ways that we need to purify our digestive system so that we are really making the most of each meal, of every bite. So, just a couple facts. Hello, Mrs. Key Bell. Thank you for joining and your interest. For those of you that were here yesterday in CNY Fertility, we had a great time. It was really busy. Everybody was wonderful. It was so nice to see everyone. Syracuse is really a happening place now, thanks to Dr. Kiltz and CNY. It's just great. It feels like this vortex of energy is being created, and it all ends up on Intrepid Lane for us fearless folks up there. And I appreciate everybody participating and raising the vibration in our little town here that needs it. Our world needs it. We have to take responsibility for how we treat each other and actually caring about each other, the people that are around us. So thank you for doing that. It really matters. And it doesn't take much effort, right, to care about yourself and each other. Let's try to have a good time, because this is our life. And we want to enjoy it no matter what you're doing, right? Whether you're sitting on the bus or in the waiting room or wherever you are, just really try to enjoy it as much as you can. I know it's not easy, and life is stressful, but it's how we respond to what's happening is the most important thing. Okay, so a couple of years ago, I thought about this digestion to conception concept. It's not new. It's, basically heal your gut, improve your fertility. Not everybody believes that, but how really can it be otherwise? If we're creating high quality embryos from high quality blood, what makes the blood is our food, our nutrition, right? So if that's not happening, we have to look at why. So a fact that I realized yesterday when I was preparing this is that 2 out of 3 people in the United States have been diagnosed with some kind of digestive disorder, whether it's IBS, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, constipation, gallstones, gallbladder inflammation is huge in the clinic. 9 out of 10 people that I see have some gallbladder issue. So that means 60 to 70 million people in the United States have digestive issues. That is a huge number, and that was in 2018. If you want to read the study, go to my blog, jenniferwaters.net. I have this all posted on the blog, and it's definitely a concern. And here's the thing, it's pretty easy to fix your digestion. It is. We think of it as not, because if you've been prescribed drugs to improve your gut, like PPIs, proton pump inhibitors for acid reflux, it can be a little tricky getting off that. but you can do it. It's not that hard. We have some very clear, straightforward protocols that are going to help you on your journey to restoring the acid alkaline balance, to giving you the enzymes that you need to digest, especially for those of you that are doing Kiltz's keto or carnivore. If you're over a certain age, you probably need more acid, HCl, hydrochloric acid in your gut, in order to digest that much protein and fat. If you don't, then you're at risk for gallbladder inflammation, gallstones, things with the gallbladder. So especially if you don't have a gallbladder, then we absolutely want to put you on just a couple targeted supplements. They're really affordable. It's easy to do. Let's get you on that to support your digestion, elimination. And when you have the right amount of acid in your stomach, this is antibacterial. This is going to help you with your microbiome. So it's absolutely important how much acid you have. So remember, digestion begins in your brain. Okay, we think it begins as we're, shoveling in our meal, but actually it doesn't. When you look at something, whether it's a menu or you see a commercial or a billboard ad for something delicious, what happens? You start salivating. This is where digestion begins, in the brain, with what we see. And then smell. All of us know if you wake up to some delicious smell coming from the kitchen, whether it's coffee or bacon, then that's how it begins, right? That olfactory response. So digestion begins in the brain. So also, it's not always what you eat, it's when and how. So we all are inundated with information about what to eat. You've got that. Thanks to CNY Fertility, you've been gifted with a lot of good information about that. But what about when and how often, right? So try to make sure that when you're eating your meal, you're sitting down. These are my general rules, okay? Sit down. Don't eat on the run. It sounds really basic, and it is, but so many people don't. Although I have to say that in our busy lifestyles, sitting down in the car does count as sitting down because I often eat in the car, unfortunately, but I do it in a very calm way. So you can be driving from place to place, and if that's when you're hungry and it's time to eat lunch, or drunch as I call it, dinner and lunch combined, then go ahead and do it. But just make sure you're in a relaxed state, okay? So sit down while you're eating. Try to take a couple deep breaths before. We often just, go right into eating our meal. We don't take time to have any kind of gratitude practice. I mean, myself included. So just take a couple deep breaths before you begin eating. It's going to help relax your throat, relax your esophagus, relax your stomach. If you can place your hands over your stomach too, we should do a little bit of anatomy. The stomach is right up here, just below your sternum. The small intestine is behind your navel. And then your small intestine is also below your navel. So a lot of people will grab onto their lower abdomen and say, oh, my stomach is hurting. That's not your stomach. That's your small intestine. So just touch your stomach, take a couple deep breaths. You want to begin eating in a relaxed state. So that's really important. So, and also take a look at the food that you're eating and just take a moment. It can be a few seconds to just have some awareness and gratitude of what it took to get this food on your plate. The earth, the soil, the farmers, the people involved, the truck drivers. Oopsie. Oh God, I hate when that happens. The seeds, if you're eating plants, the animals that offered their lives, it's amazing when you really sit down and take a look at what amount of intelligence, effort, energy, resources, the number of human beings that are involved with each meal. So take some time to just rejoice and be grateful and say thank you. Wow, all I did was drive through or click this Grubhub and here it is in my house. Like, I do love that. And I love when I can get really good food easily because it's a lot of effort when you eat well. Pat yourself on the back. If you're committing time, it's hours every day to preparing, shopping, sourcing, getting the good stuff. It is a commitment. Health is a lifestyle and it's a commitment. And so be grateful for yourself also that you're willing to do this because it is absolutely the foundation of your health. It is what is going to give you the lasting benefits in the long run is to fix your digestion, heal your gut. And the next thing is to chew your food. Chew, chew, chew. Back in the day when I first got involved with I call it now macroneuronics. People are a little bit crazy. You don't want to be obsessed with food either. You want to enjoy your food. The goal is not to be on a very restricted diet. The goal is to be able to eat anything and digest it well and enjoy it. Especially if you travel internationally, you have to be able to eat different things and not have it be a huge assault on your gut and then you're sick for days and you've got to take all of these pills. And no, that's not the goal. Let's fix all of that so you can enjoy. But anyways, back in the day, we used to practice chewing each bite 100 times. And I suggest that you try that just even for a couple bites and see what happens. It takes away your sugar cravings because the food turns into glucose in your mouth. So whether it's steak or bacon, I mean, it's just so interesting what happens. You crave sugar less. So try it, experiment with that. Try to not eat when you're stressed. I know meal times are often the main chance that we get to talk to our partners, our spouses, our friends, our children, whoever. And that can be sometimes kind of stressful, right? Like suddenly you're having issue night and you're in the middle of dinner and now you're starting to argue and you're feeling conflict. Stop eating. Stop eating. If the conversation escalates, it will affect your ability to digest. Why? Because the liver processes all of our emotions, especially anger. Why does that matter? Because the liver and the gallbladder together produce bile for digestion, right? You need the bile in order to break down the fat. And so if you're getting stressed, that whole process is going to be slowed down. That is not going to benefit you, okay? So stop eating, press pause, finish your conversation, or what I do is say, is there any way we could finish this conversation after our meal? And if you're lucky enough to have the structure in your life where you're having meals regularly with your family, set the parameters and just say, hey, here's what we're going to talk about during meals. Positive things that have happened during the day, things that we want to do in the future, memories, enjoying the food, but no negative conflict until later. So yes. Oh, and the other thing is try to not overeat. This is what we all do. I do myself too, especially when you have really good food. Oh my gosh, you want to just eat till you're stuffed. Try to not. Here's the thing. Make a fist. This is the size of your stomach, believe it or not, right? So no one believes it. It's hard to believe, right? Because it looks so small and that's it. You should be eating in a perfect world until you are 80% full. Why? So that you leave that 20% empty. So the stomach, which is going to actually have its own peristaltic action to digest your food, that it's got room to do that. So if you're stuffed, it's harder for it to do its job of digestion. Okay, so try to eat until you're 80% full. See how that goes. I'll let you know next week how it went for me. All we can do is do our best, okay, folks? Support each other, do your best, forgive yourself, learn from your mistakes, and move on. So remember, the other thing about chewing is we focus a lot on the stomach, right? Because we think that that's where it all begins. It doesn't. Begins in the brain. It begins in the mouth with the salivary glands, with your parotid glands. It begins here, and then the esophagus has its part. The stomach certainly has its part. The sphincters are ruled by the spleen. We have to keep our spleen strong so that we can keep the food in, that things aren't coming back up in terms of acid reflux. And then we usually stop thinking about our digestion then. But what happens is it goes right into the small intestine. And I can tell you for sure now that I've been focusing on gut health for the past couple of years is that our small intestines are overloaded. They are getting food that it's not well digested because we don't have enough enzymes and acid. And so what happens is that we get bacterial overgrowth, SIBO, small intestine bacterial overgrowth. And I'm seeing a lot of it. And so please chew your food well, give your small intestine a little break so that its job is easy. It's already a challenging job, right? You take this organ that's ridiculously long and then you shove it into a small space. Like, how is that a good idea? I don't really know. I think there were a couple flaws in our design, and the length of the small intestine is one of them. Unless it could be redesigned so that it's just easier to navigate into then the colon. And remember, your large intestine goes up the right, over, and down the left. I do believe in most of the world back in the day when people could actually relax without feeling guilty after a meal, the reason that people lie down during the siesta is because of this aspect of the large intestine. The food has to go up, over, and down. And that when you're working against gravity to go up, you need a lot of peristalsis to do that. You need a lot of energy. Your cells need energy. Your organs need energy to do that. And if you don't, it just gets stuck. Things get jammed. We're not moving enough lymphatically. So our pathways become stagnant. So if you can, after a meal, especially lunch, in a perfect world, lie down for a couple minutes. It will help you. It would help that the whole movement of your peristalsis. Yeah, so connect with yourself, connect with your organs, breathe as much as you can. Remember, you want to inhale, the belly fills like a balloon. So you inhale, push the navel out, exhale, navel drops into the spine, right? So we, after the age of reason, we stop breathing like that. When you watch babies breathe, when they breathe, their whole abdomen fills up. It's really cute to watch. And then you watch a teenager breathe. No one does that because we stop doing that because we want to have flat stomachs, maybe. I don't know what people want anymore, but it used to be. So that is absolutely detrimental to your health. You really have to retrain yourself how to breathe correctly so that that will support you in so many different areas. Okay, so we're almost done here. I just want to give you a couple more steps of things to do. And again, on my blog, jenniferwaters.net, I have more resources there for some of the books that I really like that has helped me a lot. And I'll just say now really quickly, one of my favorite books of all time is called Loving Yourself to Great Health. And it is written by the late Louise Hay, who's the grandmother of energy medicine, and her two co-authors, Aaliyah and Heather. And I know Heather Dane personally, and she's wonderful, brilliant writer and health coach. And she influenced me a lot on my journey. And I love this book because it brings in the emotion. It's not just what you eat, like we've been talking about. It's your thoughts. Absolutely. And so Louise Hay recovered herself from cancer. I think she had ovarian cancer or uterine cancer. I can't remember. This was a long time ago. And she healed herself with thoughts and food. And that combination is really powerful. We have to pay attention to what we're thinking. It absolutely is either supporting us or not supporting us. So please pay attention to your mind. Take some time every day to stop and look at what's going on in our busy minds. Okay, so steps to repair the gut. One of the first things you can do is do a gut test, right? So on my website, I've got one that I really like through standard process. If you want to know, I mean, on the one hand, we can make educated assumptions based on your symptoms and what's going on. And that's great. On the other hand, some people really want to know. And doing a gut test is a good way. I like this one because they take a lot of information and they simplify it into a comprehensive report for you and give you lifestyle suggestions as well as a couple targeted supplements and dietary adjustments based on depending on what kind of diet you're on right now or nutritional protocol. So it's manageable. I've seen some of the more expensive gut tests that people do. It comes back 20 pages of information. It's overwhelming. What are you supposed to do with all of that info? It's great to get all this diagnostic, but if you don't have a plan, a follow-up plan at the end, what's the point? It's not that helpful. It just ends up going in the file, and then you don't do anything about it because you don't know where to start. So I like this one. That's this lab Biome, which is the best sequencing lab, DNA sequencing in the country. I think all of the tests use this one lab, as far as I know. And they've coupled it with some really well educated nutritionists. So you get, and it's not that expensive to do. It's like $120. And if you purchase it through me right on my website, it includes, you get your whole report, you get your kit, and then you get to talk to me about how we can customize it for you, what makes the most sense. Do we think that you possibly have parasites? Is there possible other toxicity there in terms of mold and fungus? So we can make a couple educated assumptions based on your what's called your gut score. So I wanted to print this out for you better to see there what happened. This is the first page of the report, and they have 4 pillars that they're looking for in your gut test. They're not all created equal. The one that has the most emphasis is the phyla balance. This is the community of bacteria and fungus, the beneficial fungal colonies that's in your gut. That makes up 40% of your report is looking at that. And then 30% of the entire report is the pathogenic species. So we're going to see if you have things like E. coli, which is not fun. And most of you do. I hate to say it, but the facts are most of you do. And it's from eating unclean food, and it's from restaurants. And if you cook for yourself, you know how easy it is to cross-contaminate anything. So imagine most restaurants, I don't care if you're spending a lot or a little bit of money, you're at risk for E. coli. So it's not the end of the world. There's things you can do to address it. The other thing that comes back high on a lot of folks is candida, which is why if you crave sugar, it's probably because the candida is craving it and you're feeding the candida. And so you don't need to get rid of all of it, but you do want to decrease the amount of candida in your gut. It's not benefiting you in terms of absorption. So you want to be able to absorb your food better. And if you have this layer of candida there, and if you tend to have infections, UTI, bacterial vaginosis, BV, things like that, it's probably being fueled by the candida. So no big deal. There's things that we can do. I've created a couple really simple protocols to eliminate it. And again, a lot of it goes back to the small intestine. We emphasize the large intestine, but I think it begins, well, we know it begins in the brain, but really in the small intestine from the lack of appropriate bile and acid. So, and then the other 2 pillars, which just make up 15% here, is 15 each. The microbiome diversity. So how diverse are the colonies in your gut? It's really interesting. And then the beneficial species. Those of you that are used to taking probiotics, that would be the beneficial species. But what this kind of test is going to show you is, what do you really need? Because if you're just taking probiotics and thinking, well, that's the beneficial bacteria that I need to heal my gut, it's not going to be that beneficial if you don't need those specific species, genus of bacteria. So let's find out. And, it's set up in ratios. So we're going to get to see, because it is the bacteria that helps to break down the fat and protein and carbohydrates. And if you don't have enough of one and too much of the other, it's not serving you. So you don't want to just throw probiotics at it and think that that's going to do it. So, oh, bitters. So one of the flavors we don't have enough of in our life is bitter, right? Nobody's like, oh, I'm going to drink my dandelion tea before lunch so that I digest my food better. Well, some of you are, but most of us are not. I'm a huge fan of bitters. You can start with tea, making a strong tea. You can go to your local health food store and buy some digestive bitters there. There's a lot of good brands. I have ones that I love, and that is the number one way to support your body to start creating the enzymes that it needs endogenously. Those of you that know me know I'm all about supporting the body to create what it needs on its own, as opposed to being reliant on taking enzymes all the time, because you don't want to create that dependency. You want to get the body to do what it was designed to do, which is create enough enzymes on its own, create the high quality bile and enough bile so that you can digest well. If you feel you need extra gallbladder support, we've got a couple things that we can do for that. Really easy stuff to do. If you do, like I said, if you're over the age of 34 and you're doing Kiltz's keto or carnivore, let's take a look at putting you on an acid-based enzyme. I like the one called Zypan. It's got HCl in there. It works phenomenal, and it will help your elimination. If you're not pooping well, if you're not eliminating well, having the right enzymes and forms of acid, it's going to help you, because things are just getting stuck. They're not breaking down. They're not moving well. So we want to make sure that you're pooping good. Also, blood sugar. We really need to take a look. There's more and more information out there about balancing blood sugar. It's really important. You can get a glucose monitor. I don't know that much about them, but I have a friend who just started doing that. It's fascinating, immediate feedback on what's happening to your glucose after a meal. And it's important to stabilize that. We're looking for stability here. We don't want to have these big swings in our hormones, in our moods, in our energy levels. We're looking for stability. And so let's take a look at that. I love phototherapy patches, obviously, as a phototherapist. The Spleen 6 patch is really good. You use it every day for a month. You put it on your Spleen 6 point, and that is going to help start balancing out your hormones and your sugar levels. The other thing that you can do is a little bit of blackstrap molasses at the end of the meal. If you crave sugar at the end of the meal, it's probably because of that spike. Have a little blackstrap molasses at the end of the meal. It has the nutrient in there. I'll remember the name because I've taken that as an isolated thing to help. I used to have a lot of blood sugar issues, which I've stabilized. Oh, chromium picolinate. Chromium picolinate is the nutrient that you need to help stabilize that blood sugar spike. And that is what blackstrap molasses has in it naturally. So you can try that. I think that's it, folks. Thank you for coming. Smaller meals, intermittent fasting, really good idea. Give the body a break. If you're having a lot of inflammation in your gut, which we are, taking many hours off in between meals is going to help decrease the inflammatory response. Give your whole digestive system a break. Okie dokie. Let's see. Yeah. I did say Zypan. I did. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your interest in your health and your longevity and what I call intelligent evolution. We're not aging, we're evolving. Remember, lobsters live to 300 years old. How do they do that? That's what we're trying to understand. It's not through anti aging. I mean, I'm sorry, but I just don't love that term. We're all evolving towards, we're all headed to the same place, folks. We just want to have the best time that we can on our journey and feel good and have energy and enjoy our relationships and be able to sleep and everything. So, all right, folks, have a wonderful day. I'm going to put my website here. You can sign up for my newsletter, download my detox guide. I've got some information there for you. And that's all. Bye bye.